Welcome to Diary of a Dreamer, where resilience unlocks your potential. I'm Tasha Eisinger, and each week I'll bring you powerful stories and practical insights from my own experiences and inspiring guests. Whether you're facing challenges or chasing dreams, this podcast is your go-to for motivation, building confidence, and practical tips for transforming obstacles into opportunities. Be sure to check out my website, tashaeisinger.com. Let's dive into today's episode and start turning your dreams into reality. Today, we are here with Jean. She is the director of the Midwest Homeschool Expo, which is happening June 28th in Indianapolis. I will be there, as well as many other people, many other people. I'm so excited about it. And it's at the largest academically focused homeschool convention in the United States, which is tremendous. I'm so excited to be a part of it. And all the work that you've put into creating this is incredible, Jean. And I know you also have a background as a serial entrepreneur, a neuroscientist. You wear many hats, don't you, Jean?
I wear many hats. And a mom of three, homeschooling mom of three.
So yes, thank you for taking time today to be here. Time is so limited and precious. So I would love to hear a little bit about how this expo got started and that whole thing, because it's so well put together and I haven't even attended yet.
Thank you. Well, like many people, COVID changed my life. And I had three little children. One came home from public school and we needed to figure it out. What I realized was there were a lot of things in public school that she was struggling with. And it was really fortunate for us to try some new methods of learning. And through that time, I also realized I needed a village. There were so many other moms I now realize that were thinking the same thing, that were home alone, struggling through it, trying to figure out what are the best resources we can use. How do we support our unique learners? How do we find our village? And I wasn't finding the village that I needed. Our family is very academically focused. We're very social. We do tons of activities. And I just wanted to find some other families to connect with. So one day I woke up in February and said, I'm going to do this. I am going to create this village. And at that same time, I was also having a lot of other families reach out to me and say, hey, somebody gave me your phone number, your name on Facebook, your email address, and can you help us figure out how to start this? So I thought the best way for me to help these families is to bring all of the resources together, the best in class, academically focused learning supports, curricula publishers, class leaders, therapists, and subject matter experts. So in 15 weeks, in 2024, I launched the first Midwest Homeschool Expo. There were 54 unique presenters and 63 exhibitors, which was a tremendous endeavor to pull off by myself. But I was committed to making it happen because my family needed that. And 600 other families thought the same thing. So it was really such an awesome day for, it's mostly moms, these families and these moms to come together. And woman after woman I met hugged me and thanked me and said, thank you so much for creating this safe, inclusive, secular space where my family who uses XYZ learning style feels welcome. And we can come as our authentic selves and we find supports, whether it's we like Waldorf, whether it's we like Montessori, whether it's we use curricula, whether it's we participate in an online school, a hybrid school, a micro school, a co-op school, whether we take education scholarship account money or not, or we're a traditional homeschooling family. There is a safe space for all of those people to come. And that hadn't existed before. And I feel like that level of support is really, really important. That there is a space where everyone, no matter of your background, feels welcome.
And I feel that already. So I grew up in public school. I taught at an inner city parochial school in Indianapolis. My girls go to private school. I'm also a lifelong learner. So I feel like I would want to attend, even though I'm not a homeschooling parent, because there's so many resources available to equip children and families.
Yes. And, in that same sentiment, this year, I'm adding on a mom's workshop that I hope will grow to be a larger scale conference as well. Because as a mom, I also wanted something for myself. It's very hard being a parent, a mom, but then homeschooling is next level hard. And I felt like I needed some support for myself. I needed a time and a space to surround myself with others who were champions of me, who were lifting me up, who were filling me, pouring into my cup. And I also didn't find that. So I said, this year, I'm going to make it. And so the day before the expo on June 27th is the Connect and Thrive, a workshop for moms. And I felt the same. I have an 11-year-old who I thought needed that same thing, needed a time and a space together where she was being filled, where she was being nurtured. And so I also am launching Future Focused, a summit for teens, which will overlap the Homeschool Expo this year. It's not homeschool specific, so teens from all methods of school are welcome and will benefit from it. But we're going to talk about things like managing your digital footprint, to managing conflict, and how to think about skills and interests for future planning. What is your path going to be? Is it going to be college? Is it going to be trades? Is it going to be entrepreneurship? And leading them through a day where it's really subject matter experts focused on them. And I'm really excited about that.
Oh my goodness. You're so inspiring. I'm so excited to visit with you today. And you sound like an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur sees a problem and creates solutions and gets it done, which is also motherhood in a nutshell,
Yeah.
because that's
Yes,
what we do, right?
100%. 100%.
And I love that you're creating community. I think with social media and the disconnect through technology, the need for community is so crucial. And I never felt the need for it as much as I did once I became a mom.
Yes. Yes. It's funny. I talk to a lot of moms and they say, oh, this is so hard. This is harder than I ever dreamed it would be. And I said, yes, it is. Being a mom is hard. Homeschooling is hard. Um, just getting through the day is often hard, especially when you have littles. And we're, at some point, I affirm for them, at some point, we are all standing in our pantry alone, crying, eating chocolate, but we are not the only ones. We are not. And there is something really special about gathering in person. And it takes a concerted effort. It takes a lot of energy to leave the house when you have kids and you're not going somewhere just for your kids, to organize all of the things and make sure the meals are set up and make sure they have childcare can feel impossible. And it's much easier to just text your friend or your neighbor and say, how are you doing? We don't even talk on the phone to each other anymore. We don't even talk. We text each other or we email each other. But when we are together in person, it is a recharge like no other. It is a superpower. It's like fast charge Tesla. But and I find that, on Wednesdays, I teach from middle school and high school students from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. I have 69 students across 3 classes. And I love my time with those kids. But what I look forward to even more is the time with their parents, is the bit of time in between that I get to see them, because that fills me up and that recharges me. And just the human connection is so important. Having that time with them really inspired me to push forward with creating the Teen Summit and the Moms Workshop, because it's so
Nothing.
valuable.
Yeah, I mean, digital is great. Like this, we wouldn't be talking today because we live too far apart. That would be a much bigger effort than what we're doing right now, right? But there's nothing that beats human connection
Yeah.
and sitting side by side and feeling that energy from each other. And so I'm excited about all these things that you're creating and doing to create community and education and develop emotional intelligence, as we know, is so crucial. And I
So
see a lot
crucial.
of that in what you're doing. And it'll be fun to see what comes from all of this. So let's backtrack a moment here. When did you, like, what was a moment where you're like, this dream that I have, this vision is actually becoming a reality?
Slowly by slowly, it happened. Um, it's funny because after the expo in June, my daughter said, Mom, did anybody say no? Because it was such a huge event. She said, you called a lot of people and you worked really, really hard on this. I mean, hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours. And she said, did anybody say no? And I said, well, listen, honey, I called 1,300 people. That was a lot of no's. But what no means in life is it means maybe, because people can be unsure. They don't know what you're creating or what you're building. And until you've proven yourself, which is a true life lesson, especially when your kids are watching, being able to demonstrate to them that a no is a maybe. And I just have to keep going forward. When people started showing up, when people started supporting me from the community, there were families, yes, the attendees, but also the businesses and the thought leaders and the builders and the doers. Um, when those people said, we see what you're doing and we believe in you. And they started calling me back and they started saying, yes, we're going to sponsor and we're going to have a table and we're going to participate and we're going to come and present. Having subject matter experts say, we feel that this is an important space, so we support you in this, because the expo is not, it's not a profit center. It's not a membership-based organization. I'm not a large company. I'm a mom on a mission. And this is a grassroots effort. I can't do this by myself. This is not my day. This is a day and a space where so many collaborators come together to pull this off. I couldn't do it without presenters, without sponsors, without exhibitors. Their resources and their knowledge that make this possible in supporting the homeschool community is invaluable.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew. But I'll tell you, walking in to the event and that day, seeing all those people there was so humbling to know I am not alone. I am far from being the only mom who knows this is valuable and important and needs this for my family.
A mom on a mission is unstoppable. Let's be real. And you have proven that. Many moms have proven that that's so true.
Yes.
And, I know that you got relatively, like, let's say, fast results, right? So you put in the work, you worked very hard, you were able to create success, right? So what about somebody who's like, listen, Jean, that's wonderful. I'm so happy for you, but I have been working so hard for so long and I'm stuck.
Yeah.
What would you tell those people?
It's interesting. I have been asked to speak at a lot of other conferences and events and entrepreneurship workshops, and college programs about this exact topic. And what it takes is resiliency. It takes consistent effort. It takes perseverance. And there are many, many days where I go, why am I doing this? I am so exhausted. I am going on 2 or 3 hours of sleep to pull this off. But you have to believe in what you're doing. And when you believe in what you're doing, when you are passionate about it and it feels meaningful to you, and you see demonstrated difference happening, then you continue and you work even harder to make it happen. So finding something you're passionate about. There are lots of jobs. There are also careers, but being able to do a body of work that you see making a true difference in your own family's life, in your own life, in your children's lives, and in those around you, that's next level. That's next
Yeah.
level. That's something that you cannot give up on.
Well, and how do you find belief within yourself? Because there are some people who they believe in their product or what their mission is or what they're doing, but that self-doubt, it can be loud, right?
It can
So,
be loud.
yeah. So how do you keep your self-belief up as well?
Having a body of champions around you is vital. Having mentorship, you cannot grow on your own. And coming from a perspective of learning, knowing, even as a grown adult with a vast amount of career experience and advanced education, I still learn every day. And there's nothing in this body of work that I do that I will ever end up not learning something about. There is always, and I tell this to my children as well, there is always someone who knows more than you about any specific topic. There will always be someone who can do it better or is more experienced. And to continue growing is to seek those people out and learn from them. And then also find your champions, find those who are going to lift you up. It helps you know, okay, I'm doing the right thing. I've got this. You cannot do it in a silo.
No, no. And you know what? Be friends with the people who are better than you and learn from
Yes,
them. Right?
learn
Go
from
make
them.
friends.
That's something in my career early on, I realized, and other mentors told me, hey, if you have a question of something that you want to learn about, then seek out. I used to work at Target and Coca-Cola, large corporations where I had many subject matter experts to access and learn from. And that was encouraged. I think we often forget in the realm of mom life that we have many experts to reach out to. Whether you're starting a co-op, whether you're homeschooling your children, whether it's a skill that you're trying to learn. With the internet, we can find anyone. And so if there is something that you're interested in doing, seek out those experts. And most of the time, they're going to say yes. If you are an experienced professional, you want to help others. And then next level, when we're talking about the realm of moms and women, I want to help everyone succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And people who've had success, they do want to help other people.
They do. They do.
It's the people that maybe haven't actually made it yet and are pretending. Those are the people that might say no, but the real deal people that you want to learn from are going to say, yes, absolutely. Let's get
Yeah.
together for coffee. Let's do a Zoom, whatever it may be. So completely agree. Now, one of the things I think is important for anybody, regardless if you're a business owner or starting something new, is to set proper expectations and to know how to track it. So, like, what are some things that small business owners need to consider to show that they're growing and making
Mm-hmm.
progress?
Yeah. So one of the things that's really important as a small business first is to do clear goal setting. What are your objectives? What do you want to do? And that'll keep you on track. It's easy. There are so many tangents you can go on. And it's easy to get distracted, especially in the realm of social media. And when it comes to communications and marketing, you can swirl your whole day around with just that. So having clear goal setting and then making sure that you're setting measurable goals. So how am I going to measure my success? And then staying on top of tracking that. Write it down. If you don't write it down, it's not real. And, it can be simple as a spreadsheet or just write it on a piece of paper. These are my goals. These are 3 things that I'm going to do to try to accomplish this goal. And then do a check-in every once a month, every quarter, to see what are measurable examples, because I think it's easy to get stalled. It's easy to get off track and then not be following through with your goals and not be following through with your action steps of how you're going to accomplish that.
I think also, like, sometimes when you write it down, our emotions get in the way. And so maybe we feel like we've done nothing, especially when, I think of like when you have a newborn, you really feel like you've done nothing, but you haven't. You've done so much work, right? But if you track what you're doing in your business, you can see, no, I actually am taking steps and I got to trust the process.
Yes.
And everybody's process is different, the length of time, right, that it takes to get to where you want to go. So I like the
Yeah.
tracking.
And I think you also have to be realistic of where you are in your life. So for me, I'm 150% personality all the time, right? And I have to slow myself down. I have to say, okay, today it's really hard for me when I teach a long day on Wednesdays and I want to come home and I just want to get into my email and respond to all the questions that have come in. But really, I have pushed myself really, really hard that day and worked a tremendous amount to support others. I have to give myself pause and I have to sit down with my kids and I have to pour time into that, into my family. And you have to give yourself pause, because as an entrepreneur, it's easy if you're excited and passionate about what you're doing. It's easy to just keep diving in every single day. But you do have to carve out also time. And, I think as moms, we would say the word self-care. But I also think, it's kind of a falsity because carving out that time sometimes is impossible depending on the ages of your children. Self-care when you have a little one, which is not that different from launching a business, is taking a shower. And if you get time to do that, you're winning, my friend. So you have to do bit by bit, give yourself pause and make sure that you're taking care of yourself, that you're taking care of your family. And that, even though it feels like you're not pushing towards your goals, it feels like you're doing the opposite, right? It feels like I'm not pouring into my business. I'm not doing the work I should be doing today. When in reality, that pause is going to recharge you and it's important. It might be taking a lunch with a friend. It might be going to bed early.
Yes, absolutely. Because we can't operate on 2 to 3 hours of sleep every night.
You cannot.
That's not going to work long term. But sometimes you have to do what you got to do.
I
Right?
will. I will say that successful people do not prioritize sleep.
Yes.
Eventually, the sleep comes, but it is a lot of work. And no success comes from not putting in the time. I mean, that really is the biggest factor of when you are launching something new. You have to be willing to put in the hours to make it possible, or it won't come to fruition.
I feel like that's the most misunderstood aspect of entrepreneurship because there's time flexibility
Yeah.
of when you do it if you're the business owner, but you still have to put in an exorbitant number of hours to actually make it happen, right?
A huge amount. Yes.
Yeah, so the social media, this happened fast thing is probably one of the biggest lies we see on social media.
Nothing happens fast. We reap what we sow.
This is so true. Yes. Jim Rohn, are you familiar with Jim Rohn?
Yes.
Yes, and he talks about that of, planting the seeds and the birds got that one. And there's like this great audio. I should probably link it in the caption
You should.
because it's so true. Like you have to do the calls. You have to get in the numbers for people listening. I'm doing the air quotes, right? Put in the numbers and making the connections and networking. So how do you structure your time then with your business? And because you have a lot of networking, a lot of making calls, now you're probably in a position where people are contacting you more, but it's so much to juggle between homeschooling and parenting and house and business. Like, how do you structure your week?
So I try to stay very organized and on top of things. And then I also maximize my resources so that when we do a lot of car time, because I have 3 kids who are all in many, many activities. And when I am driving them around to their activities and I have 15 or 20 minutes in the car, I make the most of that pause time. My kids make the most of that pause time. So we have desks on the back of our car that are fully stocked and they know which work can come with. So something like grammar is super easy to do in the car on the way, or writing an essay, also super easy to do when we're waiting at a lesson for a sibling, or we're in the car. And so we really try to take advantage of that time and not be wasteful of the minutes in between. And then also we do a lot of work on the weekends because that's when it's most busy out and about. And we try to take advantage of that time because most of our activities happen during the weekdays. And it's okay. I give every homeschool mom permission to make Saturday and Sunday a school day and do other stuff during the week.
I love that. So there again, flexibility doesn't mean you don't put in the time, but there's more
Yes,
flexible structuring. So it sounds like you live very intentionally.
we do. We do. And organizing our schedule in a way that we're maximizing where we're going and how things are fitting together really helps us stay on track. But there is a lot of flexibility, as you mentioned earlier, for entrepreneurs. There's a lot of flexibility in that. However, let me explain. My oldest is an early bird. She wakes up at 5 a.m. every day, and she is often done with her homework by 9 a.m. My middle, she loves doing it in the quiet of the night. And it is not unusual for her to just stay and plow through math and do writing at 11 p.m. because that's her time when she feels best. And so I love having the flexibility to let them do that, what feels best for their body, for their brain. And then that also gives us just the quiet time with one another. I'm able
Mhm.
to sit and do some of my work. They're able to sit and do some of their work. That's the flexibility that comes. But that's also a child at 5 a.m. and a child at 11 p.m. And so that is a long stretch for me. Um, the flexibility also comes with commitment.
I feel like you should have like mom work hours posted somewhere in the house. Mom is available during this time slot. And you can have a closed sign when you're like, listen, kids, I can't do both stretches.
It's a 24/7 job, my friend.
It
It's a
sure is, isn't
24/7
it?
job.
Oh my goodness, it sure is. And a lifelong one. So, like, what a gift, right?
Yes.
Our
Yes.
kids bring out more in us than we ever knew we had in us.
You know what? I tell everyone being a mom has made me a better person and a better woman in a million ways I never imagined. And I am so thankful for the life lessons that I've learned through mothering. There are just things you cannot imagine until you have experienced that. But you become a better friend, you become a better employee, you become a better business owner, you become much more efficient. And also, you learn to not sweat the small stuff. The things that would have severely stressed me out before, now I go, you know what? That is not a big deal. That is not life or death. So we're not going to worry about it.
You don't have the energy to.
You don't have the
We
energy
have
to.
to protect our energy at all costs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then every child that comes after that, your first child, they're amazing. They have a bow in their hair. They are matching clothes and probably having a bath every night. The second child, somewhat less. The third child, they're just totally feral.
You know what's so funny? I didn't even do that very well with like my first one. So I don't know what that means about me as a mom.
It means you're doing a great job of not sweating the small stuff, my friend. You
I
are
mean,
already highly skilled.
there was one 4th of July when she was a like newborn. She had 5 outfit changes because everybody bought her a newborn 4th of July outfit. I'm like, this is the one time I'm doing this. And took pictures, of course, of each wardrobe change. But that was the only day I was on my game to that extent.
You got it. You documented it.
Oh my goodness, I love it. So I'm sure there's people listening right now that maybe are wanting to start, whether it's an entrepreneur journey, a homeschooling journey, they're just wanting to get started
Mhm.
and they're probably very scared, which is normal. That's a good sign, right? You should be nervous before you start something new.
Yes.
What advice would you have for them?
You know, almost everyone who comes to me to ask me about homeschooling or starting a business, they say, I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but I didn't know where to start. Almost everyone. And my wisdom is, first of all, write it down. First of all, write it down and come up with a plan, find the resources. You're not going to be perfect in the first 3 months or in the first 6 months or in the first year. Your journey is not going to be perfection. You're going to learn as you go. You're going to find those mentors and supports, and you're going to get better and better. In my first year of homeschooling, and I am a highly organized and efficient person, I am a researcher. So I, looked through all of the curricula. The same thing in my business. What was the first thing I did when I said, I think I'm going to start a homeschool expo? I think I'm going to start a homeschool conference. I called every single other homeschool conference organizer across the country. I wanted to talk to them and learn from their wisdom. And I'll tell you, those that called me back have become great friends. And I am an equal champion of their body of work. Those are the most valuable resources, the most valuable friendships and relationships that you can create. So you just have to start reaching out. You just have to start saying yes to the universe. If you're going to do it, commit and move forward.
I love that. You know, it's funny because being an author, one of the things people ask me is, how did you do it? I'm like, I found somebody who wrote a book that I thought was really good quality and asked that person questions, right? There's unlimited resources out there. It's just finding people who are here again, willing to help you. And there's tons of people
There's
that
tons
are
of
willing to help. I also think there's something to be said, Jean, about the fact that you are organized and intentional, that you were able to probably filter all the information that you received from all of these people. Because what works for you may not work for me,
It's true.
right? So how do you filter some of that information to make sure that it's in alignment with your goals?
Have a wide funnel. First of all, have a wide funnel. Ask everyone you know if they know anything about that topic, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's homeschooling, whether it's writing a book. It doesn't matter what your special interest is. Tell everyone you know, I am interested in this. Do you know anyone about that? So start gathering information from the wide funnel, and then it sifts down. So your question of how do you get through all of that? You have to stop and think, okay, how does that apply to me? Is that something that aligns with my goals because I've written them down and I have a plan? And you said be very intentional. Yes, you do have to be thoughtful. And I keep a list of nice to haves, things that I think would be great to do in the future because I can't do everything. Last year, I would have loved to have had a teen conference. I would have loved to have had a mom connecting point, something more where we could be closer with one another rather than a large pool of people. And I knew that was important and valuable, but it wasn't something that I could do the first year. I didn't have the bandwidth for that. I was still figuring out how to put all the other pieces and parts together. And this year I did. So that was on my nice to have list last year. And this year it's becoming real. Little by little, you have to be patient with it, but keep that dream list and then slowly you'll accomplish that. And then there will be things that you may think, you know what, this seems like a brilliant idea. But as you grow into your experience, into your business, into publishing, into mothering, you will then go, yeah, that no longer aligns with my goals because those goals will also change and shift and evolve. And you'll cut things off your list that you thought were vital the first year.
That is so true. There's so many things I was like, this is what I have to do. And then you look back and you're like, I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah. One of the things that I did in my previous life was owned a video production company. And I used to author DVDs for books for publishers. And it was funny because there was a time where everybody thought you needed to have a DVD with your book of some form. This was super important and going to make your book sell so well. But not really, because still today, most books don't come with a DVD.
That is so funny. I didn't even know that was a thing. So no, it was not effective.
Yes, it was
Because I
not
did not
effective.
know.
The book is enough.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I could talk to you probably all day, picking your brain and learning from you. How can people get in touch with you? Talk a little bit more about the expo and anything that you want to share for people considering going.
Thank you. So you can find me on Facebook under the Midwest Homeschool Expo or the Academy of Chaos, where I share all of my crazy fun homeschool fodder. And then MidwestHomeschoolExpo.com is where you can find out more information about presenters, about exhibitors, get tickets, what is the schedule, and also the Moms Workshop and the Teen Summit. I am super excited this year because it is poised to double in size. So we have an amazing lineup of subject matter experts, best in class. I just cannot rave enough about the publishers and learning resources that are going to be there. They are awesome. I just confirmed the celebrity math panel. All of the math teachers that we love and that support our children are going to be there to talk about math methods and styles. It's going to be amazing. And it really is just going to be an awesome day of connecting. So I look forward to meeting more families, seeing the ones that I have met through the last year, and just creating another really special day of gathering.
Oh, I'm so excited. Your expo is the first big event that I'm showing my Little Shop Publishers Workshop
It's
as
going to
an
be
exhibitor. And
fantastic.
I'm so excited. It's been many years in the works. You know how that goes, all the behind the
Yes.
scenes. And I get to share that at your event. And I'm so excited.
Well, it's our event. I want to say thank you for being willing to come and share your wisdom. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to support your small business and your endeavors and making this space to share your voice.
It's working with you so far. It's been such a collaborative experience, and I appreciate that. And thank you for your time today and sharing such great pearls with everybody.
Thanks for having me. I look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Diary of a Dreamer. I hope you found the stories and tips shared today to be a source of motivation and strength. Remember, every challenge you face is a chance to grow and move closer to your dreams. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with anyone who could use a boost of encouragement. Please check out my website, tashaeisinger.com.